everyone, you're watching Can You See Fish? Welcome back to the channel. And a couple of days ago I was asked if I would do a ranking of the different episodes in different series of Thomas and Friends in a Rob the Green Engine style video. But I don't just really want to straight up copy another YouTuber's style, so instead, who remembers these things, these tier list makers? These were popular on the internet a while back. I've seen some of them around nowadays too, but certainly not as much. So as you can see down here at the bottom, we've got all of the Thomas Series 1 episodes. That's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be ranking them, starting off with the first one, Thomas and Gordon, and it's okay. He does a good job of introducing the characters of Thomas and Gordon. Nice visuals. It really is your standard series 1 story. You know, it's very much about introducing characters, showing what type of personality they have, and just also providing some good visuals. So yeah, that one's okay. Then we've got Edward and Gordon. I personally enjoy it more than I enjoy Thomas and Gordon. The scene where Edward pushes Gordon up the hill is so good, and you know it's just a really good episode. Once again, good at introducing a character. In this case, Edward. Over here we've got the sad story of Henry. I'll probably put it there. It's not a lot of action. Of course, that doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, it is still quite a good story, quite an amusing story too, even though it does have a pretty dark ending. But yeah, sad story of Henry. And then we have Edward, Gordon and Henry, which I'll probably put there. And that does conclude the Three Railway Engines trilogy in a very nice way too, seeing Edward and Henry pull the express after Gordon burst his safety valve. But yeah, it's a nice story to end that trilogy, that set of episodes. Then we have Thomas's Train, bad. It's not even like, because people will argue, oh, how did Thomas not realise he was pulling the coaches? How did his driver and fireman not realise? It's nothing to do with that. It's just a really boring story, and yeah, it's definitely not Audrey's worst story, because there is actually a story that's worse than this one in this series, but it's definitely one of the weaker ones. Thomas and the Trucks, one that I don't really care for. I find the runaway scene to be way too similar to Dirty Objects, probably because they use the exact same sets on the other side of Gordon's Hill for it. Um, and it's nowhere near as exciting. They don't even use the runaway theme, I don't think. And you don't get a cool crash at the end either. So yeah, it's basically pretty much for me just a lackluster version of Dirty Objects without any of the character interactions or the excitement. Thomas and the Breakdown Train, it's okay. I'll probably put it about there. There's the scene where James speeds through the yard is good, and I really do enjoy how they reimagine this one in The Adventure Begins. I'm not going to say that, I know some other YouTubers do, I'm not going to say that this one is just completely overshadowed and that it's made kind of looking pathetic by The Adventure Begins, because although I do definitely like it in The Adventure Begins, I do still quite like this one. It's pretty good episode. James and the Coach is up next. Definitely one that I have a lot of nostalgia for. I'll probably put it there. Very fond memories of watching this one on the very best of Thomas and Friends, I believe. It was at my nan's house as a small child. So, yeah, that's there. The proper introduction to James's character, adapting two Railway series stories into one. Yeah, good episode. Just a good one. Troublesome Trucks, I'll probably put there. Um, it's definitely not bad, and it's also definitely good. The scene of the trucks breaking away is really nice, and I always like the way that that one looks for some reason. But yeah, Troublesome Trucks is there. Don't care for this next one, James and the Express. It very much feels like if you just watch this one without watching the other two, this one does feel quite bad. Um, and that's the thing about a lot of Series 1 stories. You do kind of have to watch the set of episodes that these stories are in. So you got the James trilogy, the Toby trilogy, the Henry trilogy, Three Railway Engines trilogy, and if you're not watching them together, some stories do feel quite pointless and like they go nowhere. And I do think that the James trilogy in particular is one that you definitely do have to watch all three of to get the true appreciation for it. Next up, we got Thomas and the Guard. Easily the worst episode of this series. Might actually be my least favourite Audrey story. It's just so boring, and I really, really just don't like this one. It's not like the worst episode of the show or anything, but in a series of fairly strong or at least average stories, when you're ranking them on their own, obviously, like I say, if you're ranking these based on the kind of collections that they're in, they do get better. But this one is just really boring and not good at all. Thomas Goes Fishing, another one I don't care for. Definitely not as bad as these two. And although my channel is named after a quote from this episode, the iconic "Can you see fish" quote slash meme, I personally don't like it. Once again, really boring, very little of note or interest in it. There is the scene where Thomas is on the bridge crossing over the River Els is nice, and I do really like that set. I wish we'd seen it again, outside of series one, I mean. And then we got Thomas Terrence in the Snow, a good episode for sure. First on-screen crash, some people like to kind of ignore this one and say Flying Kipper. Even if you're ignoring this one, then the first on-screen crash is in Percy Runs Away, I'm pretty sure. So you can't really just ignore this one so that you can pretend that the first on-screen crash was in the Flying Kipper. First on-screen crash is in this episode. And yeah, it does a good job of introducing Terrence's character. The sets look absolutely wonderful in the snow, as they always do, and this was the first time we'd seen that. So yeah, that's Thomas, Terrence, and the Snow. Next up, Thomas and Bertie. I'll probably put it there. It's one that I see a lot of people talking about really, really enjoying, and it is definitely good. Somewhat overrated, in my opinion. I know that it's iconic, the episode where the train and the bus race, and it's really exciting, and yeah, I do know that it is iconic, but at the same time, it's not the best thing ever. I do like it, but yeah, it's there. Tenders and Turntables up next, definitely a good one. Excellent character development for, I would say, the three Tender engines, but Henry barely does anything in it. So good character development for Gordon and James, probably. There are some nice scenes like where James spins round on the turntable and Gordon pulls the train backwards. Yeah, just a nice one. It is sort of let down by Trouble in the Shed, which I think would actually be a much better episode if we weren't told at the end of Tenders and Turntables exactly what was going to happen in the story. I'll probably put it there. It's definitely not bad. Once again, does introduce Percy, but yeah, it's definitely not as good as Tenders and Turntables at all. Percy Runs Away up next. I'll probably put it there. Another one that I see getting a lot of love. A lot of people will say that this is one of the best episodes of this series. I personally don't get it. It's definitely, once again, another strong episode, but I wouldn't say it's anything better than just good, as opposed to being, great. But yeah, that's Percy Runs Away. Next up, Cold. This is a story that, personally, I do feel like you have to watch the other Henry stories to truly appreciate this one. It is nice to see Henry getting the Welsh coal at the end of the episode and being useful at last. But other than that, it's just a standard nice story, to be honest. There's not really much more to it. It is just a nice story. Next up, Flying Kipper. Easily the best. Easily the best. I don't think there's even any arguing with it. I think it's just this generally accepted fact at this point that the Flying Kipper is the best series one episode. Visuals, the music, the crash, it's just all so good. Whistles and Sneezes next. I'll probably put it there. It's once again really good. It was definitely a good choice to group Gordon's whistle and Henry Sneeze together because they do kind of relate to each other in the sense that Henry shows someone up for being stupid in both of them, whether it be Gordon or the boys with the stones in Henry Sneeze. Yeah, that's Whistles and Sneezes. A nice end to the Henry trilogy. Toby and the Stout Gentleman, really underrated, I find. Not enough people talk about this one. It's a really, really strong episode. The story's great. The sets are great. The music is great. Once again, particularly the model work in this one is just excellent. Toby's branch line is beautiful. And the character in it too. You spend just over 4 minutes with Toby in this episode, but by the end, when his line is shutting down and you're seeing him being shut up in the shed, you do feel sorry for him. And I think that truly just shows how great Audrey's writing is. Thomas in Trouble up next, another one that I can't say that I really care for too much. You do kind of have to watch it because it's placed in between Toby and the Stout Gentleman and Dirty Objects, two really good episodes. In fact, I'm just going to put Dirty Objects right up there where it should be. In fact, it might even be there. No, it is there, sorry. Um, so you do kind of have to watch it because it's the one where Toby comes to the Northwestern and it's kind of sets up the events of Dirty Objects. But moving on to that episode, Dirty Objects is great. Dirty Objects is Thomas and the Trucks done even better, and it does kind of make Thomas and the Trucks seem quite dull. The character interactions at the start and end with Toby and James are great. The runaway scene is fantastic and is still one of the best we have ever got in the show. The crash is just, once again, one of the best ones we've ever got in the show. Definitely not as good as the Flying Kipper, but it's still really strong. And then we have Off the Rails, which I'll probably put about here. This is, once again, another one that does wonders for Gordon's character, really develops him a lot more. It makes him seem more like a sympathetic character as opposed to and it kind of gives us the idea that this guy isn't just going to be the bully. He can have stories where you feel sorry for him. Down the Mine, another okay one. Definitely not as good as Off the Rails, but it does bring Gordon's story to a close, even though it is only a two-parter. And I do personally wish that they had included Leaves in this series. Maybe even instead of Thomas and the Guard, so that we could have had more of that idea of Gordon being in disgrace and had more of a payoff where he helps James up the hill. And they maybe could have even adapted it right as opposed to The Trouble with Mud, which adapted it horribly. And then finally, we got Thomas's Christmas Party here, which I'm probably going to put right at the end here. It's not quite one that I don't care for. I do wish that they'd adapted Mrs. Kindly's Christmas instead. I think that would have been a much better choice. But yeah, it's just okay. And that is my ranking of Series 1. So, going through the episodes, worst to best, we have Thomas and the Guard, Thomas's Train, Thomas Goes Fishing, Thomas and the Trucks, Thomas in Trouble, James and the Express, Thomas's Christmas Party, Thomas and the Breakdown Train, Thomas and Bertie, The Sad Story of Henry, Cole, Trouble in the Shed, Percy Runs Away, Troublesome Trucks, Down the Mine, Thomas and Gordon, Edward Gordon and Henry, Thomas Terrance and the Snow, James and the Coaches, Off the Rails, Edward and Gordon, Whistles and Sneezes, Dirty Objects, Tens and Turntables, Toby and the Stout Gentleman, and of course, The Flying Kipper. That is it. That's my ranking of Series 1 episodes from worst to best. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos like this where I'll be ranking the other series of Thomas and Friends from worst to best. You've been watching Can You See Fish? I hope you've all enjoyed the video, and until next time, goodbye.